A high school student potentially looking at serious time behind bars says he didn't do it, and he says he can prove it. Warren De La Salle High School student Cleveland Harville III is charged criminally in an alleged hazing incident, and tonight he's breaking his silence, telling his story only to News Now. What really happened inside the school's walls, and why did prosecutors change their minds from no charges to multiple criminal charges? Cleveland Harville and his attorney Greg Roll join us now. Thanks for being here, guys.
Thanks. Thank you for having me.
Greg, I want to start with you, the attorney. Why do you say that he didn't do this, could not have done this?
A variety of reasons. Number one is that the timing is off. They have listed the operative date of September 5, when in point of fact my client was no longer a participant in school as of September 3rd. So 2 days prior he was already being homeschooled. So he couldn't have been there, number one. Number two, he's passed the polygraph. So that, coupled with some other documentary evidence, suggests to me highly that he was not involved at all, and that this is but a pretense and he's collateral damage for some separate agenda of the father of the player, essentially, that backs my client up.
So tell us about this polygraph. We have the results here. Tell me what this basically says.
Well, the first thing that we always do in a case like this when there's a credibility challenge is to, since I wasn't there and you weren't there and only he was there, to get him on a reliable polygraph with one of the best polygraph artists in the state. In fact, this gentleman, he teaches everyone, and he was a former prior police polygrapher, Neil Myers. And he did an extensive workup of the case, sat him down, and after he asked the operative questions, or what are called the trigger questions, he came back and with high endorsement said my client was telling the truth.
So do you go to the prosecutor at this point and say, what are you doing?
Exactly what we did do. We sent him a letter saying, listen, number one, you never ever asked for an interview with either my client or his parents, okay? Number two, my client wasn't named until the third interview by the complaining witness student. The least you can do is look at what we have, which were, again, the records that we talked about this from the school, as well as the polygraph result. My hope is that they will be offering him what's called a state police polygraph, and if he passes that, the charges, in my mind, will be dismissed.
Do you tell me your thoughts as you looked at this case, because this was very odd. We had a prosecutor, first of all, a prosecutor in another county take a look at this thing, and they evaluated it, and they said no criminal charges. They had a press conference basically saying there'll be no criminal charges in this case.
That's correct. And then apparently there was another witness that came out of the woodwork and also claimed that he was a victim as well. The problem here, the dynamics here are interesting because Eric Smith's office, as you know, had to recuse itself because one of the sons of a prosecutor was an alleged victim here. So, and as we understand it, was involved in drafting the initial criminal complaint, which is problematic to me. But they saw fit to recuse themselves and bring in St. Clair County prosecutor to oversee it and to handle it. The gentleman, I think, didn't know the dynamics either when he first took it on, at least this aspect of it, because there was a lot of media attention, a lot of outcry, because as you know, only African American kids were charged, which I thought was a very interesting dynamic considering there's only a 15% population pool in the whole school.
For our audience that isn't familiar with the case, can you walk us through what the allegations are, what your client's charged with, and what essentially prosecutors say happened?
Okay. In essence, the complaint suggests and alleges that a group of football players engaged in some ritualistic hazing, which involved either lifting or pinning another player down and using a broomstick to either touch or just rub up against or mockingly use a broomstick, if you will.
To scare them,
to
intimidate them, or to motivate them, or who knows?
Who knows what the reason is. I remember doing the same kinds of things 35 years ago when I played football. So I don't know. It's hazing. It's no longer allowed for sure.
And shouldn't be.
And shouldn't be. But regrettably, it's done. My client was not involved in it. I'm not sure who was. And quite honestly, the extent of publicity that emanated from a 15-second no physicality contact, I don't know. It seems overdone.
Well, have they provided any evidence yet, or have they given you any discovery? Have they given you anything to indicate that they have enough evidence to go forward with
The
this
discovery that I've reviewed thus far suggests exactly that those are the allegations, and that one person is going to say that happened to him. It was essentially a 15-second contact situation where there was no penetration, the person was not naked. It was, I just say, boys being boys, which you can't do anymore apparently on this planet. But that's what it seemed to me.
Originally, there were allegations from law enforcement and prosecutors that there was a clampdown and no one was cooperating, and people were hiding evidence or even destroying evidence.
Again, I didn't see that in the discovery that I saw. I thought it was pretty straightforward on what happened. No one seemed to be holding anything back. I do know that there was an agenda to get rid of this coach, the football coach, notwithstanding the fact he's had 2 exemplary seasons where he was state champion. Again, I think there was some politics here that I really can't speak to yet because I haven't finalized my review, but I believe there's a hidden agenda here that goes as far to the prosecutors, into the prosecutor's office, and who's involved.
Well, what do you think? What do you think that is?
Well, I believe, quite honestly, that my client is a starting tight end. The victim, who happens to be the prosecutor's son, backs him up and wanted to start, and was confronted. The coach was confronted with this scenario. Hey, I want my son to start. Coach said, your son's not good enough to start. I got a starter right here. And I think, quite honestly, there was some bad blood that emanated from that, and there were some decisions that were made as a consequence of that, all of which poured out and made these gentlemen collateral damage to a different agenda.
So originally, when this first sort of broke, the team canceled they forfeited their game.
A playoff game.
A playoff game.
Yeah, incredible.
And thus ended the season.
Correct.
So you're saying that this would have been about next year's starting job,
Yes.
or retaliation for not being able to start.
One or the other. And again, I haven't crystallized the facts on that.
Do you believe any of these kids should have been charged?
No, not from what I've gathered from other co-defendants and their attorneys. No, I know that only my client right now is being offered the polygraph option. So, who knows what happens down the road?
But the first prosecutor said there's not enough here to go forward. Then all of a sudden, when they made that announcement, new people came out and said, "Oh, now there is enough to go."
Apparently, yeah, they thought that because there's one witness they didn't believe, and I guess, or didn't seem as though there was enough there. Now that they have 2 situations apparently that happened, it's a better case for them. I don't see it. Talking as a defense attorney, I just don't see it.
Okay. We're going to take a short break, and when we come back, we're going to talk to Cleveland about all of this. You're watching News Now. Stay with us. Welcome back. We continue our story of alleged hazing at De La Salle High School. Joining us now is Cleveland Harville, one of the players who's on the team and one of the players who's criminally charged. Thanks for being here.
No problem.
So I want to talk to you a little bit about football. How long have you been playing football?
I've been playing football since I was 6 years old, since I lived in Georgia, and I've loved it since then. And I've always thought about playing football, and I really hope to be able to play football in college, moving past this situation.
So tell me about your high school career. What year are you in?
I'm a senior right now.
Okay, you're a senior. And did you play all 4 years at De La Salle?
No, I only played 2. I played 3 years at De La Salle, 3 seasons, and then left the last season. Now I go to an international prep academy online, and so yeah.
So tell me about De La Salle football. It's a storied program. How did you like it?
I loved it. All 3 years I played, it was great. I loved the coaches, my teammates. I had fun. We were dominant, which was always good, and it was a good thing to be a part of. And I don't regret going there, but I do wish the situation didn't happen, especially because I wasn't a part of it.
So you were, did you start last year too, or was this your first year starting?
Yeah, I started as a junior. I was actually in a tight end rotation with me and 2 seniors, and I got a lot of PT last year as a junior.
And so as a group, how close is the team?
Very close, actually. The football team, I feel like the football team was one of the teams that gets the closest when it comes to like a brotherly bond than other sports, just because how often we are together and how it's always us. So yeah, I feel like it was a tight bond.
Sometimes in an all-boys school, it's even stronger. What about the coach? How did everyone get along with the coach?
The coach was amazing. Coach Giannoni, he was a great guy. He really took it into accountability, turning boys into men, which was one of the mottos. And I think he shouldn't have been fired, and he had no wrongdoing at the school at all. And I'm happy that he got to be my coach for the years that he did, and I learned a lot from him. Definitely.
Well, we should mention the school president was also fired in all of this. So as this was going on, or as the rumors first started, what was that like being in school, being on the team as the rumors first started?
I actually wasn't in the school or on the team. I'd already left when the rumors started, so I didn't really know about it. I asked friends that did go to the school. They said it wasn't really anything, like it wasn't a big deal. Nobody really thought it'd get to where it was today, but I actually didn't have much knowledge of the situation at all. It was more just he say, she say.
So have you seen or heard of any hazing before at De La Salle since you were there the year before?
I've seen horseplay that you could say could be hazing if it's done to the wrong person or a person who doesn't want it, but no, I never saw any specific hazing in a situation where I think the police should get involved or there should be charges brought against boys like this.
So just generically, tell me a little bit about what is horseplay? What does that mean?
Being physical. We were in the locker room a lot, on the field a lot. Football is a physical sport, and sometimes that physicality boiled over into the school, into the hallways, but it was just more of us playing around, being fun, always laughable. There was never really any serious moments where people actually got upset. It was, if you were there, you would never think something like this would happen. You would think it was all for fun and everyone's having a good time, and it's a real brotherhood.
I went to an all-boys school too, and people would knock your books out of your hands in the hallway. People would get stuffed in a locker if they were small enough to do it. Not great stuff, looking back, but it's stuff that happens. And I think in all-boys schools or in football teams or wrestling teams or any groups of teams, that kind of stuff does happen. As we look at it now or look back, it shouldn't happen because you don't know how the other person on the receiving end might feel about it. But you feel like this is something that could have and should have been handled probably with the team alone, and if not the team, then inside the school.
Yes, definitely.
That's how they tried to do it, by the way, initially.
So tell me what the initial process was, or what happened.
They didn't. I guess the administration, and one of the reasons why there's a termination here is because they didn't bring it immediately to the attention of the authorities. Instead, they tried to do an internal investigation to substantiate it, number one, and then try to address it internally so that it would not have these kind of ramifications of criminal charges, cancellation of a football game, just overplayed and overdone and overwrought. And unfortunately, it backfired because now everyone's complaining, well, they didn't do what they should have done. And the long-reaching ramifications include the termination of the actual president.
And what role do you think the media had in this? Is because it's in the front page of the paper, does that make people maybe charged when they wouldn't have otherwise?
It works for coronavirus. Why wouldn't it work for this football team? Yeah, the media is very powerful, and the way they play things or present things goes a long way in enforcing issues. And it happened in this case.
So, Cleveland, when you first read about this in the paper, was it like, what are they talking about? I mean...
Yeah, it was definitely like, what are they talking about? I did ask people, so I kind of understood what was going on, and I got to be able to put some pieces together, but still didn't have an understanding on what actually happened or where it really came from. So, and once my name got brought into the situation later on, that's when I was really surprised, knowing that I wasn't there and I didn't get to be a part of any of it.
And Kevin, just so you know, the harsh reality is that some of these football scholarships for these scholar athletes are in jeopardy. Are jeopardized by this incident, this 15-second alleged broomstick scuffle. It may be costing someone a scholarship and the ability to go to college.
Yeah, and if you're a starting tight end on a good team, really good team like De La Salle, you're probably getting some looks, if not at D1, at D2 or D3.
Correct.
You wanted to play college, or you still want to play college?
Yes, and this has affected my recruitment because a lot of coaches have been texting me about the situation, asking me how I was in the situation, like where I stood, and so yeah, it is affecting me in a negative way, and I feel like it shouldn't have, and I shouldn't be here since I wasn't there.
And you had no problem going to take a polygraph,
No problem.
and you knew you were going to pass because you knew you weren't there. And now that you have, do you think the criminal charges will go away?
Yeah, I feel like if there was a really good investigation done from the very beginning, my name would have never been put in there, just for the simple fact that there's proof I wasn't even at the school on the date they're trying to charge me with, which seems like it should be something that they should have known before they charge me. And now there's consequences that my face is all over the TV, and I'll never be able to get away my mugshot. When somebody Googles my name, that's the first thing they're going to see. They're not going to see my highlights of football. And coaches see that now, and that actually affects me a lot.
Okay, we're going to follow up on this, and we'll be at your next court hearing, and we'll see if they get these charges dropped or not. Thanks for being here.
Thanks,
I
Kevin.
really appreciate it.
Thank you, Mike.
We'll have more news now, right after this. They were the best of friends. Then they found out they were actually sisters. He was driving on expired plates. Wait until you see how long they were expired for and his reason they were expired. Plus, what's going on this weekend? We get into it all with Taylor Vitani. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me again.
Let's start with this story about the expired plates. Now, I know in Michigan, every year on my birthday, I got a race to go get the plates. And I always get the letter in the mail, and it says, hey, mail this in, and you can do it by mail. It's real easy, and I never do.
Right.
And then my birthday comes, I'm like, oh my gosh, I got to run to the Secretary of State's office. I hate it. It costs hundreds of dollars to do it. It's awful. This guy decided not doing it.
Apparently it wasn't too much of a rush for him. Yeah, he got pulled over. It was a man in Louisiana. He got pulled over, and his plates were nearly 23 years old. And so police stopped him and kind of questioned him about it, and he said, oh, I've just been really busy. And he's like, I will do it as soon as I get back home. And so, of course, they kind of scoffed it off and probably wrote him a ticket. But yeah, I know Michigan is once a year. Louisiana is once every 2 years, so he missed quite a few of them.
Yes, I notice on my plates when I put the stickers on, I'll go and sometimes there's mud on them, and the year is on there, but every year it gets a different color too. So like one year the sticker might be orange, and another year it might be yellow or white or whatever. So he probably went through the cycle of colors 5 or 6 times.
He probably had the same color we've got going on now. It's just been recycled, right? Yeah, so he went quite a while, and we don't know if his car was just put away for a really long time and he just decided one day, hey, let's take it out for a drive or whatever. But yeah, he took a real chance there, and they did pull him over, but I'm sure things are probably all right. He probably did it.
Yeah, 23 years. It's a little long to be waiting to get those plates changed out.
Is.
Now tell me about this sister, about the best friends who are actually sisters. That's crazy.
It is crazy. So these girls were from Philadelphia. They were great friends since they were kids, and they were inseparable with each other through school, even as adults they were very close. And anyway, one of them had an engagement party. And she, of course, had the other girl, her best friend, there, and they were taking pictures, and pictures were posted on social media of, the family there and everything. And anyway, there was this man who was the girl having the engagement party. It was her father. And anyway, the other girl's mother saw pictures on Facebook, and she was like, I know him. And anyway, they had a brief romantic relationship years ago, and the girl who posted the picture, she really hadn't ever known her real father. And so anyway, there was talk going on about how this could possibly be your father, and they got the DNA results, and sure enough.
So how old are they now?
I believe they were in their 20s, late 20s, as far as I read. It was amazing to read how inseparable these girls were, and they looked so much alike. They had all the same interests. It was just like fate, oh my gosh, I found this friend that looks like me and acts like me, and it's so weird. And then come to find out years later, that's your biological sister. It's amazing.
Yeah. Do you ever talk to people who are into the genealogy thing, and they track back as far as they can to see who their relatives were, and then sometimes now you can send in a DNA sample, and they'll tell you about your whole history and all of that, and sometimes you find out more than you wanted to know.
Yeah, right. And between the trees on there, you can see different people, from all over where you're at, where out of state, out of the country, that have the same, DNA as you, and it is really cool. It's very interesting.
But in this case, it wasn't science or anything like that. It was really social media.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
so
They would have never known if it wasn't for that.
So the mom is like, this guy looks familiar. Why do I know this guy? Oh, I dated him briefly 25
Things started to click.
years ago.
Right, yeah.
You know?
Things started to click a little bit, and they were like, wait. And so anyway, I guess they had gotten to talking, and she had realized this could be, and she told her, and of course, I'm sure she was probably like, oh my gosh, like my best friend's dad could be my dad, And yeah, the DNA results proved that was
How
true.
would you feel if you found out your best friend was your sister?
I don't know. That would be really cool. I feel like anybody would be like amazed. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, at first you'd be like, wait a minute,
Right, like I knew we really liked all the same things and we looked alike, but yeah, it would be like you'd feel like you were dreaming.
Yeah, and they're young enough that they have this whole relationship going forward of being sisters and being family.
I'm sure that brought them closer than ever too. I can imagine.
That's very cool. Are you over all of the election stuff? Michigan had its primary and all of that, and going forward, there's still a lot of battles between Trump and the Democratic nominee,
Yeah.
but it's been kind of overwhelming.
It has been. We always have either Fox News or MSNBC playing in the House at one point or another, and it has just been an overload, sort of. But I guess that's what's to be expected around this time. So.
Yeah, and there'll be a lot more to come too.
Yeah.
And we'll have all those crazy commercials where everybody's mean to each other.
Yeah.
So what is happening this weekend?
Well, Monster Jam is coming to Ford Field this weekend. It'll be here Saturday and Sunday, so that's the 14th and the 15th.
Now, for people who don't know what Monster Jam is,
Yes.
that's not the Disney movie where they play basketball against each other.
Nope.
That's Space Jam.
That's Space Jam,
Monster
right.
Jam is trucks.
Trucks, all like monster trucks. I've been there before, and I know that you've been there. They just basically have this track, and they go and do all these stunts with these monster trucks, and it's very cool. It's very loud.
Yes.
But very entertaining. There's tons of people. People bring all their kids, their family. There's a lot to see. The tickets range, they start at $15. You can find them on, I believe it's monsterjam.com, and then it'll probably take you to Ticketmaster or somewhere from there. But they have pit passes available too as add-ons. So you can go and look for that, online.
So can you get down, if you get a pit pass, can you go and look at the trucks or actually touch them or get to talk to drivers maybe?
We had pit passes. We went, I think it was 2 years ago, and it was awesome. We had the pit passes, and I wasn't sure if it was before or after we got to go down there, and people will sign for you, all the drivers, and it's really cool.
So you see the dirt piles and the trucks go flying over them. Is it? Do you know? Is it a race to do a certain number of laps? Is it which truck doesn't break down? Do you know how?
I think it's probably a little of everything. Obviously.
There's so much going on.
Yeah, it's very stimulating. That's for sure. It's a lot to take in, but it's very fun. Fun for the whole family. I recommend anybody go.
The kids love it.
Yes.
Maybe bring ear pods or something.
Yes, absolutely.
To offset the
I
noise.
wanted to bring earmuffs.
Exactly. All right, well, thanks for checking in. We
Thank
appreciate it. That's our show for tonight. Thanks for watching. For everyone here at News Now, I'm Kevin Dietz. Good night.